Why do women face a far greater risk of developing Alzheimer's than men? For years, the answer seemed simple. Women live longer, so they are more likely to get the disease. But what if the real reason lies not in age, but in something much more personal, something woven into the very chemistry of the female body, something as basic as the fats we eat and how our brains use them? A groundbreaking new study is turning that assumption on its head, revealing a startling clue hidden in plain sight. The way women process certain fats may be fundamentally linked to their higher risk of Alzheimer's. And it's not just about cholesterol or heart health. It's about how the brain fuels itself, protects its cells, and resists the slow creep of cognitive decline. Scientists have long focused on the usual suspects when it comes to Alzheimer's, those sticky clumps of amyloid plaques and twisted tangles of tau proteins that clog and strangle brain cells. These have dominated research for decades, shaping nearly every drug trial and public understanding of the disease. But while researchers chased these markers, another story was quietly unfolding in the background, one involving something far less dramatic but possibly just as important: fat. Yes, fat. Not the kind that shows up on a scale, but the kind that flows through the bloodstream, slips into the brain, and becomes part of the very structure of our neurons. The brain is the fattiest organ in the body, made up of nearly 2/3 lipids. These fats are not just passive building blocks. They are active players in communication, protection, and repair. And it turns out, the type of fat matters deeply. The new research, drawn from hundreds of participants across Europe, reveals a powerful pattern. People diagnosed with Alzheimer's show a clear imbalance in their fat profiles: higher levels of saturated fats, the kind linked to processed foods and artery clogging, and much lower levels of healthy, unsaturated fats, especially the omega-3s found in fish, nuts, and seeds. But here's the twist: this imbalance is especially pronounced in women. And in men, the same pattern either does not appear or is far less significant. This is not just a dietary observation. It points to a deeper biological truth. Women's brains may rely more heavily on certain healthy fats to function properly, and when those fats go missing, the consequences could be devastating. Unlike men, women in the study with Alzheimer's showed a sharp drop in the very molecules that protect brain cells, reduce inflammation, and support memory. Their blood carried fewer of the lipoproteins that ferry omega-3s into the brain, like delivery trucks suddenly rerouted or cancelled. Why would this happen only in women? The answer may lie in the complex interplay between hormones, genetics, and metabolism. Women naturally have different fat distribution and processing than men, influenced heavily by estrogen, a hormone that does far more than regulate reproduction. Estrogen helps regulate how the body stores and uses fat, and it plays a role in maintaining brain health. When estrogen levels drop during menopause, that protective effect may vanish, leaving the brain more vulnerable to metabolic disruption. This could create a perfect storm: fewer healthy fats entering the brain at the very moment the brain needs them most. For years, scientists overlooked these differences, treating male and female brains as essentially the same in research. The vast majority of studies on brain aging did not even analyze sex as a factor. Drug trials were designed and interpreted using data dominated by male participants, as if the female brain were just a smaller version of the male one. But the brain does not work that way. Cells respond differently. Pathways activate differently. And now, fat metabolism appears to follow a different script altogether in women. The implications are profound. If Alzheimer's unfolds differently in women, not just in timing but in biological mechanism, then the solutions must also differ. A one-size-fits-all approach to prevention and treatment may be failing half the population. What if the key to protecting women's brains isn't just early detection or amyloid-clearing drugs, but something as accessible as diet? What if the right fats, consumed at the right time, could slow or even prevent the disease? This doesn't mean eating a salmon fillet will cure Alzheimer's. But it does suggest that nutrition could be a powerful tool in the fight against cognitive decline, especially for women. Omega-3 fatty acids are known to support cell membrane flexibility, reduce oxidative stress, and calm chronic inflammation, all processes that go haywire in Alzheimer's. If women's brains are more dependent on these fats, then a deficiency might accelerate damage in ways that are not mirrored in men. And here's another unsettling thought: modern diets are often low in these crucial fats. Processed foods, factory farming, and declining fish consumption have led to a widespread drop in omega-3 intake across populations. At the same time, rates of dementia are rising. Could this be more than coincidence? The new findings suggest that women, in particular, may be paying a hidden price for this dietary shift, one that shows up decades later in memory loss, confusion, and lost independence. But science is only now beginning to catch up. The study underscores a larger problem in medical research. Women have been left out of the conversation for too long. Even when data is collected, it is often not analyzed by sex, meaning critical differences go unnoticed. A treatment that works for men might do little for women, not because it's ineffective, but because it targets the wrong biological pathway. This isn't just about fairness, it's about effectiveness. To truly understand Alzheimer's, we need to understand how it lives in the female body. The good news is that change is coming. More researchers are now asking the right questions. Instead of assuming women are just at higher risk because they live longer, they are digging into the biology, hormones, metabolism, immune response, fat transport, to uncover the real roots of disparity. And what they're finding is that Alzheimer's may not be one disease, but many, shaped by sex, lifestyle, and environment in ways we are only beginning to grasp. This shift could lead to a new era of personalized brain health. Imagine a future where women in midlife get their lipid profiles checked not just for heart disease, but for cognitive risk. Where doctors recommend omega-3 supplements not as a general wellness tip, but as a targeted strategy to protect the brain during the vulnerable years after menopause. Where public health campaigns emphasize brain-healthy fats with the same urgency as they do blood pressure or sugar control. It also opens the door to new kinds of treatments. Instead of only trying to remove plaques, scientists might develop therapies that restore healthy fat metabolism, repair damaged lipoproteins, or mimic the protective effects of estrogen without the risks. Drugs could be designed specifically for women, tested in female-dominant trials, and fine-tuned to their unique biology. Of course, there are still many unknowns. Does low omega-3 cause Alzheimer's, or is it a symptom of a brain already under attack? Can boosting these fats in midlife actually change the course of the disease? And why do some women with healthy fat levels still develop dementia, while others with poor diets remain sharp into old age? These questions demand long-term studies, better data, and a commitment to including women at every stage of research. But the message is clear: the brain is not an isolated organ. It is deeply connected to the rest of the body, especially the way we process food and fuel. And for women, that connection may be both a vulnerability and a source of strength. The same biology that puts them at higher risk could also point the way to better protection. In the end, this is not just a story about fat or Alzheimer's. It's a story about listening to the body's signals, about recognizing that men and women are not interchangeable in health and disease, and about the power of small, everyday choices, like what we eat, to shape our futures in ways we never imagined. The next time someone says Alzheimer's is just a disease of aging, remember this: it may also be a disease of imbalance, of missing pieces, of fats that never made it to the brain where they were needed most. And for millions of women, the path to prevention might begin not in a lab, but on a dinner plate. If you found this deep dive into Alzheimer's and the surprising role of fats in women's brain health eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a story that challenges what we think we know about the human body. Science is evolving, especially when it comes to women's health, and staying informed is the first step toward a healthier, sharper future. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and let's start talking more about the hidden forces shaping our minds. Thanks for watching.